Hi learners, I am Dr. Sundravalli. I will be giving you an overview of nutrition allowances for infants. Next to fetal period, infants' first year of life is where the most rapid growth and development take place. According to WHO figures, the average weight of most healthy newborn babies is around 3.2 kgs. Healthy child doubles his birth weight by 6 months and triples by 1 year of life. The average length of the child is 50 to 55 centimeters and it increases about 20 to 25 centimeters around 1 year. The brain cells increase in number during the fetal period and in the first 5 months of life. Good nutrition and emotional support is inevitable during this period. The full-term infant is able to digest protein, emulsify fats and carbohydrates such as lactose, but till 3 months of life the salivary secretion and gastric secretion of infants are low. With this small introduction, we will move on to the objectives. This module will provide the learner an insight to the following objectives: nutrition needs and allowances of infants in general, the macronutrient and the micronutrient requirements of infants, the sources of the nutrients, the effect of excess and deficient intake of specific nutrients. Nutritional needs and allowances. It is necessary that we pay more attention towards the nutrient requirement and allowances of infants. It is. The growth during infancy is very rapid. Dietary adaptations are required. For the first 6 months of life, the nutritional requirements are largely met by the breast milk, after which it is imperative that supplementary and complementary foods are introduced. The recommended dietary allowances RDA of an infant is based on composition of breast milk. Table below gives the RDA for Indian infant suggested by ICMR 2010. Average body weight of 0 to 6 months infants is 5.4 kgs. 6 to 12 months it is 8.4 kgs. Now we will look into each of the nutrient required for the infant one by one. First, energy. Energy requirements during infancy are very high. This is one of the periods of rapid growth. The energy requirements for infants and children are calculated based on two things. One is total energy expenditure TE plus the energy needs for growth. Energy needs for growth have two components. One, the energy used to synthesize growing tissues, which is part of the total energy expenditure, and two, the energy deposited in those tissues basically as fat protein, because carbohydrate content is insignificant. This has to be taken into account along with the basal energy needs and energy needs for activity in infants and children. Infant requires 92 kilocalories per kg body weight, whereas an adult requires only 40 kilocalories per kg body weight. The current available data suggests that energy needs are highest during first 3 months of life and then fall for next 6 months. When the growth rates are lower, it rises after 9 months when the child is very active. For 1 month old infant, 50% of energy intake is used for basal energy, 25% for activity and 25% for growth. Extremely active children may require up to 40% energy for activity. A child who crawls or walks will not gain weight unless additional calories are supplied through supplementary foods along with the breast milk. On the other hand, if the excess calorie intake persists, it may lead to infantile obesity predisposing to adult obesity. Now we will move on to carbohydrates. Carbohydrates serve a primary source of energy to fuel bodily activities, while protein and fat are needed for other essential functions in the body, such as building and repairing tissues. AI for infants. 0 to 6 months, a child requires 60 grams per day of carbohydrate, and 7 to 12 months old infant requires 95 grams per day of carbohydrate. What is this AI? AI represents an approximation of intake by a group of healthy individuals maintaining a defined nutritional status. It is a value set as a goal for individual intake of nutrients that do not have a RDA. The sources of carbohydrates for infants is lactose, which is found in breast milk. For lactose-free infant milks based on soy-based formula feeds, source of carbohydrate is sucrose, corn and corn syrup or corn syrup solids. Later in infancy, when supplementary foods are started, infant get carbohydrates from whole grain cereals, pulses, vegetables and fruits. When fruit juices are introduced, caution should be taken. If fruit juices remain for a long time in the gut, undigested, creates fermentation leading to discomfort. Now we will move on to the next macronutrient, protein. Protein allowances of infants should meet both growth and maintenance requirements. Protein allowances are computed from the protein content of the breast milk and the volume of milk consumed by healthy infants growing normally. Protein intake of healthy infants for first 6 months is about 1.16 grams per kg body weight and 1.69 grams per kg body weight for the next 6 months. The recommendations for infants are based on the total protein content and amino acid pattern of the average daily intake of human milk. The infant's protein requirements are higher compared to that of the adults due to the increased demand for skeletal and muscle growth. Human milk provides all the amino acids for the growth. Essential or dispensable amino acids have to be supplied through diet after 6 months when the child is started with supplementary foods. The amino acids are histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan and valine. Histidine, which is a non-essential amino acid for adults, is essential for the growth and maintenance of an infant. Infants require high quality protein supplied by breast milk and supplementary foods, which are required for the following: 1. Build, maintain and repair new tissues. 2. Manufacture important enzymes, hormones, antibodies and other components. And thirdly, perform very specialized functions in regulating body processes. The sources of the protein for the first 6 months of life is exclusively breast milk, and after that good quality proteins should supplement and the food selected should complement each other. Now we will see the sources. The foods like rice, that is low in lysine, high in methionine, and dal, low in methionine and high in lysine, can complement each other in providing the amino acids. Protein from egg, milk, animal sources is supposed to be providing good quality protein. The third major nutrient is fats and essential fatty acids. Lipids are a group of substances including fats, oils and fat-like substances such as cholesterol. Fatty acids are the major constituent of many lipids. Linoleic acid and alpha-linoleic acid are both essential fatty acids. Small amounts of linoleic and alpha-linolenic acid must be provided in the diet. Two other fatty acids, arachidonic acid or ARA and docosahexaenoic acid or DHA, also known as long chain polyunsaturated fatty acids, are derived from linoleic acid and alpha-linolenic acid respectively. RDA for infants with regard to fat for the first 6 months is nil and next 6 months is 19 grams. The lipids are required for the infants to supply energy, providing cushioning effect to the organs and thereby protect the body organs to help in the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E and K to provide essential fatty acids required for brain development, healthy skin, lustrous hair, eye development, resistance to infection and diseases. Shall we now see the sources of these fats? During infancy, the breast milk is important source of lipids, including essential fatty acids. Approximately, lipids present in breast milk provide 50% calories to the infants. Breast milk provides approximately 5.6 grams per liter of linoleic acid. In addition, breast milk provides approximately 0.63 grams per liter of N3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, including alpha-linolenic acid and docosahexaenoic acid. Sources of lipids in the older infants' diet include meats, cheese and other dairy products, egg yolks and any fats or oils added to home prepared foods. Breast milk contains significant amount of cholesterol, whereas the cholesterol is not added to formula milk. After seeing these macronutrients, we will move on to the micronutrients. Now we will have an overlook at the micronutrients, that is the vitamins and the minerals. First, the vitamin. Vitamin and mineral supplements are not required in the first year of life. The infant is exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months of life and thereafter introduction of right kind of supplementary foods are given. If advised by the healthcare providers, it should be given to infant by the adult caretakers. First, the major fat soluble vitamin, vitamin A. The RDA for retinol prescribed by ICMR for Indian infants is 350 microgram. The amount of vitamin A content of breast milk is sufficient, provided mother's diet is rich in vitamin A. Daily intake of vitamin A by Indian infants through breast milk is about 140 microgram during the first 6 months of life. Rest of the requirement is met by the reserves. Vitamin A is necessary for the proper vision, growth and development of bone, healthy skin, hair, mucous membrane and healthy immune system. A healthy infant has sufficient store of vitamin A in liver at birth, which may last for 6 months. Sources: after 6 months, when foods are introduced, additional sources of vitamin A or carotenes for infants consuming complementary foods include egg yolks, yellow and dark green vegetables and fruits. Example: spinach greens, sweet potatoes, apricots, peaches and liver. Precaution should be taken while introducing foods, as some of the foods mentioned may be allergic to infants. If enough of vitamin A is not given through foods, the infant may be prone to vitamin A deficiency, which is widely prevalent in developing countries. Next major vitamin, vitamin D, which is also called as sunshine vitamin, can be synthesized by body with the help of sunlight. It is essential for utilization and retention of calcium and phosphorus. Human milk typically contains vitamin D concentration of 25 IU, that is international units, per liter or less. So, AI for infants of 0 to 12 months is 5 microgram or 200 IU per day. Upper limit UL for infants 0 to 12 months 25 microgram, that is 1000 IU per day. A good supply of vitamin D during pregnancy benefits the mother and helps satisfactory development of the infant. The vitamin D requirement of the child is 400 IU. The AAP, that is American Association of Pediatrics, recommends that all healthy infants have a minimum intake of 200 IU of vitamin D per day during the first 2 months of life to prevent rickets and vitamin D deficiency. Next, we will see vitamin E and K. Vitamin E is received by the infant from breast milk and infant formula. It helps in the protection of vitamin A and other essential fatty acids. It also protects the damage of tissues. The source of vitamin E for infants after 6 months is green leafy vegetables, vegetable oil and their products, wheat germ oil, nuts, etc. AI for infants 0 to 6 months, 4 milligram per day of alpha tocopherol, 7 to 12 months, 5 milligrams per day of alpha tocopherol. The newborn is susceptible to hemorrhage caused by lack of vitamin K. Breastfed baby is more susceptible than artificially fed. The deficiency can occur if the mothers have received anticoagulants. A single dose of 1 milligram of water miscible vitamin K soon after the birth is sufficient for premature newborn infants to prevent hemorrhage. Breast milk is very low in vitamin K, and it is recommended that irrespective of whether the infant is going to be exclusively breastfed or not, a single shot of vitamin K after birth prevents hemorrhage. Even mother can be supplemented while they are breastfeeding. Green leafy vegetables, pork and liver are good sources of vitamin E. For infants of 0 to 6 months age of old, 2 microgram per day of vitamin K and 7 to 12 months 2.5 microgram per day of vitamin K is recommended. Vitamin C, a water-soluble vitamin. Vitamin C is important for the infants to protect them from scurvy. Human milk contains twice the ascorbic acid in comparison to cow's milk. Breast milk is the best and major source of vitamin C. Additional vitamin C sources include vegetables like tomatoes, cabbage, potatoes, fruits, example citrus fruits, papaya and strawberries. The vitamin C for infants is necessary for the collagen formation, proper bone growth, tissue repair, increasing the immunity and helps in the absorption of iron. Deficiency in mother during pregnancy and lactation results in very little reserve of vitamin C for infants. Hence, the introduction of vitamin C through foods as early as 6 months is advisable. The RDA prescribed by ICMR is 25 milligrams. Next, we will move on to vitamin B12. This is a water-soluble vitamin necessary for healthy blood cells and proper functioning of the nervous system. AI for infants is 0 to 6 months, 0.4 microgram per day of vitamin B12, 7 to 12 months, 0.5 microgram per day. Breast milk and infant formula has good amount of vitamin B12. If the maternal stores are good, then the baby fed on breast milk will supply the vitamin for first 6 months. The vegans are high risk of developing the deficiency. Hence, it should be supplemented. Milk, meat and egg supply good amount of this vitamin. Folate is a B vitamin necessary for the cell division, proper growth of healthy blood vessels and formation of genetic material within the cell. At times, folate is referred to as folic acid, but both are different. They come from two different sources. Folate comes from natural source, where the folic acid is a synthetic form added to supplements. Apart from breast milk, infants receive folate from green leafy vegetables, oranges, whole grain breads, cereals, legumes, lean beef, egg yolks and liver. AI for infants is 0 to 6 months, 65 microgram per day of dietary folate equivalent, 7 to 12 months, 80 microgram per day of dietary folate equivalent. Now, we will move on to the B complex vitamins. Vitamin B1 called as thiamine. Thiamine is a water-soluble vitamin which is required for the release of energy during carbohydrate metabolism and normal functioning of nervous system. Food sources of thiamine include breast milk, whole grain breads, cereals and other fortified foods, legumes, lean pork and potatoes. Thiamine deficiency can occur in infants who are fed breast milk of mothers who are deficient in thiamine. AI for infants is 0 to 6 months, 0.2 milligram per day and 7 to 12 months, 0.3 milligram per day of thiamine. We will move on to riboflavin. Riboflavin is a water-soluble vitamin which helps the body to release energy from protein, fat and carbohydrates. AI for infants is 0 to 6 months, 0.3 milligrams per day and 7 to 12 months, 0.4 milligram per day. Food sources of riboflavin include breast milk, infant formula, organ meats, dairy products, egg yolks and green vegetables. The mother's milk deficient in riboflavin leads to the deficiency in infants, leading to inhibition of growth, lesions of mouth, dermatitis and anemia. Niacin is also a water-soluble vitamin which helps in the aid of release of energy during metabolism of carbohydrates, protein and fats. This vitamin has an important role to play in the conversion of amino acid tryptophan to niacin in the body. AI for infants is 0 to 6 months 2 mg per day of performed niacin, 7 to 12 months 4 mg per day of niacin equivalents. Like thiamine, food sources of niacin include breast milk, egg yolks, poultry, meat and fish. Niacin can be formed in the body from the tryptophan in the animal foods. The deficiency of this disease leads to pellagra. Next, vitamin B6. Pyridoxine, another water-soluble vitamin, aids in the metabolism of fat and helps protein in the building of body tissues. AI for infants 0 to 6 months 0.1 mg per day, 7 to 12 months 0.3 mg per day. As protein intake increases, the need for pyridoxine also increases. Apart from the food sources mentioned for thiamine and riboflavin, vitamin B6 include legumes and potatoes. Now, we will have an overview of mineral requirements. The first and foremost mineral important for the infant growth and development is calcium. Calcium, a very important macro mineral, is required for all the age groups. It plays an important role in the growth and development of bone and its maintenance at the later stage of life. It is also required for the proper tooth development and maintenance of healthy nerves and muscles. AI for infants is 0 to 6 months to 10 mg of calcium per day and 7 to 12 months to 70 mg of calcium per day. An infant can get sufficient amount of calcium from breast milk or from the formula milk for the first 6 months of life, and thereafter it should be supplied by the other food sources along with milk. The food sources of calcium include curd, cheese, paneer and fortified or enriched foods like cereals, fruit juices, green leafy vegetables, ragi and tofu. Calcium from breast milk is best absorbed than the formula milk and soy-based milk formula. Calcium absorption is also based on the availability of vitamin D available to the body. Deficiency of calcium in children along with vitamin D leads to rickets. The deficiency during pregnancy leads to osteomalacia. The next important mineral is iron. Iron is an important mineral needed for the proper growth and formation of healthy blood cells. It is a part of hemoglobin which is required for the transport of oxygen to the tissues and part of myoglobin which stores the oxygen in the muscles and many enzymes in the body. AI for infants is 0 to 6 months 0.27 mg per day of iron. RDA for infants 7 to 12 months it is 11 mg per day. Upper limit 0 to 12 months 40 mg per day. RDA recommended by ICMR of iron for an infant is 46 microgram per kg body weight starting from 3 months. At birth, body contains 80 mg per kg. This about 3 times of an adult during the first 4 months the baby's blood volume doubles and concentration of iron and hemoglobin falls to about half that present at birth. That is why, without depending on the dietary iron, infant doubles his birth weight by the end of 6 months. After 6 months, the reserve iron is not sufficient for the growth of the infant. Hence, dietary iron is required, which it should be supplemented with the foods rich in iron. The sources of iron-rich foods are available in two forms, as foods with heme iron and foods with non-heme iron. First, we will see heme iron, found primarily in animal tissues including red meat, liver, poultry and fish. This form is well absorbed into the body. Non-heme iron, found in breast milk and in plant foods. Infants receive most of the iron in their diets as non-heme iron. This is not well absorbed as heme iron. Hypochromic anemia can occur in infants due to depletion of fetal sources, greater need for growth and inadequate dietary supply. Zinc is an important mineral in the body, which is required for the formation of protein in the body. It helps in the wound healing, blood formation, maintenance of tissues, growth, taste perception and healthy immune system. According to ICMR, zinc requirement is not mentioned, but AAP recommends 3 milligrams per day for infants between the ages of 7 to 12 months. Breast milk is considered to be a good source of zinc for the first 6 months, but is inadequate for the older infant. In addition to breast milk, complementary food sources of zinc are meat, poultry, liver, egg yolks, milk products, legumes and fortified grain products. Iodine. The requirement of iodine according to WHO for infants and children of 0 to 59 months are 6 to 30 microgram per kg per day. Iodine is required for the brain growth and development. Goiter in mothers during pregnancy leads to children born as cretins. Sufficient iodine during intrauterine growth is essential. Sodium. Sodium is a mineral required for the proper maintenance of water balance, regulation of blood volume and functioning of cell membranes and tissues. Healthy full-term infants receive water from breast milk, which is sufficient for the growth. Estimated amount of sodium requirements for the infant is 100 to 200 milligram per day. The sodium content of cow's milk is much higher than the breast milk. So, the formula milk does not have any addition of sodium. Water, one of the very important nutrient for the body. Water, a very important and essential nutrient required by the infant for the following reasons. 1. To regulate the body temperature. 2. To transport the nutrients and the waste products. 3. To regulate cell metabolism. Fourthly, to have normal functioning of the kidney. The infant requirement of water is met by the breast milk. No extra water is required for the infant if he or she is exclusively breastfed. Once the complementary feeds are introduced, sterile water should be given as waterborne diseases are very common in infants. Now, we will summarize this module. As to summarize, we have seen an overview of nutrient requirements and the allowances required for the growth and development of the infant. The exact intake as indicated above is not possible. The caregiver or the mother should be taking precautions that excess or deficient intake of a particular nutrient for a prolonged time is not being practiced. Any illness pertaining to the child should be immediately brought to the notice and attended by the healthcare professionals. Healthy child, healthy nation. We will all help each other to build a healthy nation by having a strong, healthy foundation in the first year of life of the child, providing good nutrition. Thank you.